welcome to the 2025 Mountain Lion Madness Selection Show. I'm your host, Mr. Baker. Today, we will reveal the brackets and provide expert analysis of this year's tournament. Is it a tournament or a tournament? I have no clue. You can vote by visiting the link that will be displayed at the bottom of the screen throughout the show. Joining me today in studio are Mr. Krug and Mr. Marasco. Welcome to the show, gentlemen.
Students, buckle up for excellence. Click, click.
This is going to be a fun type of battle here. I'm loving this. This is great.
We could add the click sounds in post-editing here. Let's get right to it, all right? Let's do it. We will now announce the bracket by region. After revealing each region's bracket, our panel will highlight one first-round matchup of interest in each region. Let's start with the El Dorado region. In the El Dorado region, we have number 1, Pat McKinney, facing off against Megan Cuttriff. Number 9, Shane McBurney takes on number 8, Jared Prugar. We have students this year. We have Will Sankey in the 5 seed against number 12, Markel Herr. We also have at 13, Aaron Smearman taking on number 4 seed, Jermaine Thomas. Back to the teachers, Tyler Elvey, the 3 seed, faces number 14, Victoria Good. Number 6, Julia Buggy takes on number 11, Madeline Ober. Number 7, Amanda Prosser versus number 10, Brandon Lingenfelder. And rounding out the El Dorado region, we have Connor Pielmeyer, the 15 seed, facing off against number 2, Megan Yingling. Well, guys, how do you see this El Dorado region going? Mr. Krug, let's start with you.
Michael, we have 4 ambitious young men here, all AHS seniors, crashing this bracket as the Young Bucks contingent. My question is, how does that affect top seed Mr. McKinney? The selection committee was very impressed with McKinney plastering flyers all over both buildings 2 weeks early and rightfully awarded him the top overall seed. But is he so set on a Sweet 16 matchup with one of these seniors that he loses his focus early on? That's what I'm going to be watching
Excellent
for.
question. Mr. Marasco.
You know, I think it's a big thing, too. Those seniors are going to be a tough thing to get through in that top bracket. Like Pat McKinney, maybe is he cheating? Is he trying to get ahead of himself, trying to put all those things out there? I don't know. But he'll have a tough battle against one of those seniors, and I really think it's going to be either Will Sankey or Markel Herr that's get through there to and he's going to battle through one of them to get to the end.
McKinney has definitely been getting his name out there, and unfortunately his face, too. But also, my look at the El Dorado, I'm looking at number 9, Mr. McBurney, and number 8, Mr. Prugar. And really? I picked them. They're both former students. So I just kind of hope they just battle it out. I don't know necessarily who I think would win. Mr. Prugar makes all kinds of friends over there in the Bic room, so that might give him a slight edge. But really looking forward, I think that El Dorado bracket, like all of them, are it's stacked.
It's strong.
That region is very strong.
Everyone might be trying to get an in-school suspension now to go party with Mr. Prugar. If he wins this whole thing, you never know.
There could be some payola here and some bribery.
Could be a nice little party over there.
We hope not. We hope not. We take Bic very seriously. Moving on now to the 5th Ward Regional. In the 5th Ward region, we have number 1, Mike Adams versus number 16, B Building Principal Eric Dambeck. Number 9, Chris Strawmeyer against number 8, Alyssa Fasolo. Then we see number 5, Mr. David McCarter take on Crystal Nicodemus, the 12 seed. Jordan Corman, the 13 seed, faces off against Jacob Wilt, the 4. The number 3, Dawn Dahl versus number 14, Jacob Dahl. A little stress in the Dahl household. We then have the number 6 seed, Marissa Brandt, against the number 11, Samantha Knepp. And the soon-to-be-retired number 7, Amy Martin, faces off against number 10, Emily Bender. And rounding out the 5th Ward region, we've got number 15, Misty Finnegan, against the coach, John Sabo. Mr. Krug, we'll start with you. How do you see the 5th Ward here? What's your early interesting matchup?
Friends, the matchup to watch here is Mr. 3 seed Dawn Dahl against upstart 14 seed Jacob Dahl. Is this where the old bull finally falls to the young calf? Circle this matchup as your first major day 2 bracket buster.
All right. You know, I think that's going to be an intense household there for this week, towards the end of the week. And I think there's a couple really good matchups in here. You know, Mrs. Bender and Mrs. Martin, a huge matchup. But I think it's the one to mainly pay attention to is Mr. Wilt and Mr. Corman. The two battle the young guys, especially with those students now. You know, they're pretty popular among their students. So who's going to pull it out in that matchup? I don't know.
Yeah, I have the Dolls as well as my pick of just a really interesting matchup in this 5th Ward Regional. I think the young Mr. Dahl's got some momentum going.
Got some moxie.
I'm hearing
All right.
I'm hearing his name a lot in a good way, which is always good. Let's head just up the street to the Dutch Hill region. Oh, I could go for some of those Dutch Hill creams. They are so good. Our number 1 seed, Steph McAleer, faces off against the number 16. Who seeded these people? Marshall Faust at 16. Unbelievable. Wow. Number 9, Mr. Rupika against Julie Gardner, the 8 seed. Then we've got T-Dubs, the 5 seed, against Miss Mattison, the 12 seed. Amanda Kelly, our 13 seed, faces off against, Carolyn Klein, the 4 seed there. Wow. Betsy Cron, the number 3, up against Samantha Fickus at 14. We then have number 6 seeded Mr. Todd Bennett against Paula Irwin, the 11 seed. Shauna Myers, the 7, up against Frank the Tank Harpster at 10. And then finally, rounding out the Dutch Hill region, we have Autumn Barry Kyle, the 15, facing off against Kelly Detweiler, the 2. Gentlemen.
Everyone is going to focus on the McAleer-Faust 116 matchup headlining the region, and with good cause. It's a feud. Everyone knows it. And now it's time to push all those chips on the table. I do want to assure students any rumors you've seen on Twitter are not true. Miss Mac's position on the selection committee will have no effect on the voting itself. Take that to the bank.
Ooh.
I think that's another big matchup that I would pay attention to, too, is the Miss McAleer Mr. Faust matchup. I mean, that's going to be huge, and that's going to be the talk of the week. So that's definitely the matchup in this section to look out for.
Yeah, I agree. That's a great choice. You can sense I have a theme. I pick people like Todd. I pick people who are family members. In the Dutch Hill region, I am really looking at the 15 Autumn Barry Kyle and the 2 Kelly Detweiler. The thematic reason for that is people who intimidate me.
Agreed there. No arguments.
Absolutely.
They are both very intense. Okay, moving on to our last region, the Juniata region. So here is the bracket for our Juniata region. The number 1 seed, Caleb Marasco, up against the number 16 seed and number 1 first cousin, Miss Marasco. We also have Chelsea McKee, the 9 seed, facing off against Mr. Wynn, the 8 seed. Mr. D'Angelo, the 5, up against Mrs. Lambertus, the 12. We've got Jared Klausman to the 13 seed against Paul Pisciotti, the 4. Catherine Curry takes on Rin Saladay, the 14 seed. We then have Mr. Harbor and Mrs. Coleman, the 6 and 11, facing off. Mr. Fraley at 7 seed against Mrs. Garman, the 10 seed. And we round off that Juniata region with Mr. Robert Smith, the 15, against Mrs. Chrissy Folger, the number 2 seed, who's had a pretty good run every year when we've done this. Mr. Krug, how do you see this Juniata region shaking out?
It was a dark and stormy night. The selection committee had just finished seating, and I had my feet kicked up at home watching some Ancient Aliens Deep Tracks. And then a knock at my door. Another committee member was on my doorstep and only asked, "Is Mr. Marasco too content?" I said, "What do you mean by that?" He said, "Does Mr. Marasco want this badly enough? Rumor is that he's going to reach the Elite Eight without even trying." So I hope that's wrong, but I think voters need to know for sure. Are you ready to play, Caleb?
Oh, Mr. Krug, I'm always ready to play, especially when it's a family matchup like this. And for those of you asking, no, Miss Marasco is not my wife. Miss Marasco is my first cousin, because I got that question so many times at the beginning of the year. But I'll tell you what, she's going down. I won't handle this family feud lightly, and that's the matchup I'm going to be paying attention to. Maybe I'm a little biased. I mean, if I really were to pick another one, maybe Mr. D'Angelo and Miss Lambertus, they have some beef there between them, but I'm focused on Miss Marasco and going down.
Well, perfect segue mentioning no, she's not your wife because you're first cousins, because I'm picking someone from West Virginia in this Juniata bracket. I'm looking at Mrs. Coleman, the 11 seed, versus Mr. Harbor, the 6 seed. This is one person I like to make fun of and one person who's a lot of fun, so we'll let everyone decide, the viewers, which is which there. But I think that's a very interesting matchup because they're both very good friends, so it'll be interesting to see how they play it. Okay. We're going to go all out here. Let's move on to some Final Four predictions. If you could, gentlemen, would tell me, who do you see coming out of each of these regions? What's your Final Four? Mr. Krug.
Michael, El Dorado region. My pick here is 4 seed Jermaine Thomas. I've met this young man. I think he has great character, great moxie. Fifth Ward, I'm going Mr. Sabo. I think he's going to pull in votes from dog lovers and math lovers alike. Dutch Hill, one word for you, gentlemen. Kelly Detweiler Retirement Tour. It's happening. Take that to the bank. Final Four, no questions. Finally, Juniata region. I'm going with my pick right here. My man, Mr. Marasco, survives an epic Elite Eight clash with 2023 OG champ Mrs. Fulger.
Don't get too excited. These are just predictions. Mr.
It
Marasco,
is
what do you have
predictions,
as your
just
final
predictions.
four?
I'm trying not to get too excited.
Okay, don't get too excited.
I think from that top section, that El Dorado section, I really think Miss Yingling's going to pull it out there. I know I think she's going to have some tough matchups, especially with those seniors in there, but I think she's going to pull that through. The fifth award section, I have a couple people coming up through. I have Mr. Adams, I have Miss Bender, Miss Martin, right? There's a couple big matchups. I think Mr. Adams is going to pull it out there. He's going to play scrappy. He's going to get through, and he's going to fight through the end and get to that Final Four. In the top Dutch Hill region, I think, like you said, I think Miss Detweiler is on a retirement tour, and she is going to take some names. And so she is going to make it through that region, especially getting through Miss Mack. I think she's going to make it through. Might have to happen. And that bottom region, Juniata, I do not want to sound cocky at all. Maybe it's personal preference. Maybe I just want to get there. But I want to be confident, and I think that I can make it to the Final Four, and that's my hope. So
There it is.
if I have to go through Mrs. Fulger, I don't think I made it through her last year, but I'm going to be battling harder this year. So I'm like you said, I'm ready for the competition.
Wow,
This is
he's kind of
this is
thrown
it.
down the gauntlet there. My Final Four, I have some similarities. A lot of spots here out of El Dorado. I have Mrs. Yingling coming out of there. I think she's going to run that region. I have Mrs. Bender out of the Fifth Ward. It's kind of a dark horse. She's a very popular math teacher, all around great
10
person.
seed.
So yeah, it happens from time to time. We're in 100% agreement. Dutch Hill, Kelly Detweiler, all the way. I mean, retirement. One of the hardest workers here, does fantastic things for the district for the last 35 years. I mean, I think she advances into the Final Four. And out of Juniata, I hate to tell you, I think you're running into a buzzsaw with Chrissy Fulger. I think
I'm leaving. I'm done.
Well, you don't get your deposit back if you leave now, and I won't validate your parking.
Hey,
All right. Well, so you've seen the bracket. You heard our Final Four predictions. Now, let's reveal our way too early prediction. Who is going to win this thing? Jim, who do you think is going to win?
Kelly Detweiler. It's got to be. It's got to be. Kicking off retirement in style, your 2025 champ. Heard it here first.
Nice pick.
As much as I
Nebraska.
really want to win this thing, I really don't think I'm going to make it through Mrs. Detweiler. The retirement tour, she's on it. She's on a reign, and she wants it badly. And I'll be fighting. But even if I make it there, I hope I make it there. But I'll try my best.
If you have to lose to Mrs. Detweiler, it's certainly better than losing to Mr. Detweiler.
It definitely
Nobody
is.
wants to do that. I mean, the only
No.
thing he's going to win is a back hair competition. I've got Mrs. Detweiler winning the whole thing.
Wow.
I just
Wow,
think
that's
it's her
impressive.
year. She's been a pretty strong performer, but never really, I think, made it out like the Sweet 16. I think this is her year. I think the retirement tour, there's going to be a lot of goodwill there, and I think she is going to take it this year. All right, well, we heard some great predictions, but it's up to you, the students, to determine the ultimate winner. Vote for your favorites using the link we showed during this selection special. Thanks for joining us for the Mountain Lion Madness Selection Show.